Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Since Day One. Before we get into this video about R. Kelly, go ahead and like the video. Do not forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And also, if you're new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to take flight with us. So y'all, I have been catching up on this book that Jim DeRogatis had wrote concerning R. Kelly and the 19-year-long allegations that have been spoken against R. Kelly. Jim DeRogatis, he makes sure that he writes down every piece of information he ever figured out during the whole time that he was investigating R. Kelly, and he put it in a 417-page book, y'all. Like, isn't that the greatest? This book that Jim wrote involves the essential account of R. Kelly's actions and their consequences, a reckoning 2 decades in the making. In November 2000, Chicago journalist and music critic Jim DeRogatis received an anonymous fax that alleged R. Kelly had a problem with young girls. So let's go ahead and get into this. Chicago police twice have investigated allegations that R. Kelly was having intercourse with an underage female, but dropped the investigations because the girl would not cooperate. 6 weeks after the first story ran, Abdon and I got a letter CC to editor Michael Cook, as well as the paper's media attorney Damon Dunn, writing on behalf of his clients Greg and Valerie Landfair and their daughter Rashona. Chicago lawyer Daniel H. Toohey cited that one sentence, the natural and obvious implications are false and defamatory. The fact that the Landfairs are not identified by name in your article makes no difference. It is well known in their community that Robert Kelly is a close friend. Demand is hereby made upon you to immediately cease and desist. The letter mentioned Rashona's name 4 times and misspelled it twice. Rather than worrying anyone at the paper, we thought the letter confirmed we'd been onto something. R. Kelly himself never threatened to sue the paper for any story Abdon and I wrote. Ultimately, we would share 33 bylines between 2000 and 2008, and his camp never even demanded a correction or a clarification. We didn't learn anything else about R. Kelly's relationship with Rashona until shortly before the next Christmas. On December 19, 2001, the Kelly story had a way of ruining my holidays. Sparkle called me, this time her voice shaking with thought and emotion. When you talked to me last year, I couldn't say anything, but I've since gotten proof. This is not a rumor. This is something that I totally seen with my eyes. I got a phone call on Friday stating that there was a tape surfacing with my niece. And I know you can't publish minors' names, but I was just like, okay, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? So 2 of my friends actually viewed the tape and know my family personally, so they know it was my niece. During my reporting a year earlier, Sparkle hadn't said much when I connected with her through a Motown Records publicist and asked about the relationship between R. Kelly and her niece Rashona. I'm not her parents or whatever. Now, she continued, a man had come to her apartment claiming to represent a Chicago attorney named Buddy Myers. He gave her the lawyer's card and then he showed her a videotape. What she saw left her disgusted with the tape, and she didn't hear from him again. But she began making phone calls telling people what she'd seen. She asked her brother to call their sister. Sparkle had been estranged from Valerie and Greg Landfair since she told them to keep their daughter away from the star after she split with them. Next, Sparkle called the Illinois State's Attorney's Office. She didn't know exactly who to ask for and wound up talking to the Deputy Supervisor of Felony Review. She took notes during these calls and she carefully spelled the name of the man, Robert. Years later, I talked to y'all see that word. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's now retired. He said he worked murder cases, not SCX crimes, but I took Sparkle's cold call. I remember she was speaking very cryptically. Well, what if I had this and what if I had that? And can't you do something without? And I'm like, well, if what you're saying is true, you have to come forward and we'd have to see this tape. Next, Sparkle called the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, where she spoke to a woman named Kim. She didn't catch her last name. Kim told Sparkle the same thing. The office could only act if it had a copy of the tape. Finally, Sparkle called me. At first, I thought she might have seen the first tape that had been sent to the Sun-Times via FedEx 11 months earlier, but she described a much longer and more disturbing video. She believed her now 17-year-old niece Rashona appeared in the scene with R. Kelly when she was 14, based on her hairstyle at the time. The horrible thing about this tape is he's doing some things to her that I know it had to have been going on for a long time. The most demeaning thing on the tape is that he's pissing in her mouth and, excuse my language, nutting in her mouth, telling her to pucker up her lips. She's a young girl, so he's just brainwashed her to death. Something needs to be done. She says, I don't have a videotape. I've got some people I've talked to briefly, but nothing further. Right now, my firm has not been engaged with anybody having anything to do with R. Kelly. I've heard some scuttlebutt, but that's all I'm at liberty to say right now. Through the holidays and into the new year, Abdon and I called all the sources we developed as of the first week of January 2002. None of them had yet seen a tape with Rashona, though several had heard about a new video on the streets. We agreed with city editor Don Hayner we didn't have a story yet because we didn't have a tape. But we kept making calls. Then a month later, somebody called me. Go to your mailbox. I went to the mailbox beside the front door of the house I'd recently purchased on Gray Street on Chicago's northwest side and found an unmarked VHS cassette in a blank manila envelope. You have to be accessible if you're a journalist, and even after the bullet through my window on Ashland Avenue, I made sure my home office number and address were listed. I ran upstairs to my daughter's bedroom, popped Toy Story 2 out of the VCR and put the unmarked tape in. Tossed her beloved Jessie doll aside so I could sit on the edge of what she called her big girl bed, and hit play. The 26-minute, 39-second video seemed to have been shot in the same location as the first short tape we'd received. In the room with the rough-hewn, light-colored beams, Abdon and I had since learned that some members of R. Kelly's crew called it the Colorado Room. Though most referred it as the log cabin playroom. It was located in the converted Baptist church he owned on George Street. More of the room could be seen in this new tape, including a huge pine panel hot tub. The video lacked a timestamp, but we later concluded it was made sometime in late 1998 or early 1999, possibly around the holidays. An unseen television played in the background, tuned into a new music video program, Let's Have a Party Tonight by the Backstreet Boys, and Too Much by the Spice Girls could be heard, both big hits at the time, and the station aired a commercial for the Money Store, a lender specializing in subprime home equity loans that had stopped using that name about 6 months after its sale in June 1998. Much clearer and longer than the tape from FedEx or the bootleg clip with the legal age dancer Montana Woods, this video started with the man I immediately recognized as R. Kelly sitting on a cushioned bench beside the hot tub, dressed in red sweatpants and a white t-shirt, seemingly checking the angle of an unseen camera. The tape cut out for a second, then returned as the man handed something I couldn't initially see what to a fully dressed, big-breasted, short-haired girl with round chipmunk cheeks. I thought I recognized her. From the Oak Park and River Forest High School yearbook pictures Abdon had photocopied more than a year earlier, it was Rashona Landfair. Thank you, she muttered before she performed fellatio on Kelly, occasionally shooting glances at the camera. The video cut out again, then came back as she danced for him and atop the ledge of the hot tub following his directions. Dance faster, baby. Now with no clothes on except for a big silver cross around her neck, at his prompting, she urinated on the floor outside the hot tub, then straddled him as he sat on the bench and they had intercourse. Seemingly double her size, he called her Shauna and she called him Daddy. Daddy, F you? He asked. Yes, Daddy, she said. The girl's eyes had a vacant, disembodied look as she robotically followed Kelly's commands, and her expression showed no signs of pleasure or any emotion at all. The tape cut out again before it returned with the girl lying on the bench next to the hot tub performing fellatio again, then opening her mouth as Kelly urinated in it and over her breast and stomach before fondling himself and coming, and that's where the video ended. I hit eject, immediately got in my car and drove the 9 miles to the gray barge-like Sun Times building. Walking straight into city editor Don Hayner's office, he told me Abdon had just left. I caught my partner on his cell phone as he rode the Orange Line to Midway Airport for a flight to Denver in the rare splurge of a snowboarding weekend with college buddies and his then 15-year-old son. No shit. Abdon repeated several times as I told him about what I'd seen. No shit. I watched this tape for a second time within 90 minutes with Hayner and my immediate boss, entertainment editor John Barron, in the paper's closet-sized video room full of VCRs and television sets. Hayner and I watched it again half an hour later with the top news executive Michael Cook, this time on the VCR and much larger TV in his spacious office with windows overlooking the Chicago River. The Sun-Times has set a precedent or crossed an ethical Rubicon if you sided with those who criticized us by giving the first tape to police, and we didn't debate what to do now. Cook and Hayner called Damon Dunn to inform him of what we'd gotten. Someone in the newsroom, I think it was Hayner, but he doesn't recall, called the Special Investigation Unit at Chicago Police Department and asked them to come to the office. I went outside and had a smoke, a nasty habit I'd idiotically picked up in the past year at age 37. Less than 4 hours passed between the time I found the tape in my mailbox and when Detective Dan Everett, Sergeant Debbie Shizuski, and a third member of their squad buzzed the intercom at the glass doors between the elevators in the newsroom. John Barron and I met them in the hall and gave them the tape in the manila envelope, barely saying a word. The investigators left, then came back and buzzed again a few minutes later. Was there a note? Sergeant Shizuski asked, and is this the original tape you got? We assured the officers there wasn't and that it was. I never thought we did the wrong thing by handing the tape to police. Neither did Abdon, who was sickened by the video as I was when he saw it on Monday. Hayner tried to clear the decks for both of us to spend as much time as necessary on the required reporting before we could write about the tape. But we needed to move fast. We didn't know if there were other news organizations had it. We didn't know how quickly the police would act. And most important, we didn't know if the actions it depicted were ongoing with Rashona or any other young girl, although we certainly feared the worst. Before the police arrived that Friday evening, and entertainment editor John Barron and I gave them the tape, I made a copy in the paper's video closet. Sun-Times lawyer Damon Dunn will groan when he reads that sentence, but it's a fact. We had to do our job. To verify and report after the cops left, I called Sparkle. Hayner had confirmed what I'd already known, and that I had to show her the tape to determine if it was the one she'd seen and if the girl was her niece Rashona. Sparkle couldn't come into the office until Monday. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below and let me know how y'all feel about having an inside scoop into the book. I mean, oh my God, I was just so excited. I pre-ordered it on the 3rd, and by 9 a.m. on the 4th, I already had it. And I've just been over here reading it, and I'm on like chapter 8. And I wanted to do a book reading. However, Jim went to college and I did not, and therefore he knows more high-tech words to use than I do. And I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it real. Some of the words I couldn't pronounce, and so I didn't want to be on camera looking stupid. That's why I'm not doing a book reading. But I found some interesting parts of the book that I wanted to share with you guys. And so that's what I did today. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know how y'all feel about it. And let me know if y'all would like for me to see if there's anything else in the book that y'all want to know about. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below and ask me questions. Because, yeah, I'm doing this for us. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video.